thing and everywhere, the biggest elephant in the room, that if Kenyans in Bomas were supposed to sit and say, what is the main issue? Corruption. Cost of living, look at what we are talking about, importing oil, isn't it? The whole thing about corruption there is very clear. The front page of newspaper today is about the corruption that was taking place in Konza Technopolis. So I'm trying to talk about the corruption. If we don't remove that animal, nothing goes. Then the independence of the institutions, of constitutional institutions.
Yes.
IBC can be set up in a way that Raila Odinga and Ruto agree, but what is happening is, are they independent? How comes after the election every commission has to go home? Tell me any commission that stayed in office after an election. And then they are called Independent Boundaries and Electoral Commission. Anything in Kenya that begins the word independent, that's why there is no independence. Where you see corruption, that there is zero corruption-free zone, when you see this in the back, on the front page, means at the back, when you enter the office, that's corruption begins there. But the corruption is not just there on the billboard. The billboard, there's no corruption there. But behind that billboard, where the offices are, corruption begins there in a big way. I'm telling you, Simba, you young people who are listening to me, if you are still looking for handout to put someone in office, you are the problem. The day you'll get somebody like me, Fred Ogola, and help him become a head of state, that's the day your future will be in your hands. But when someone buys you, where becoming a president has a high correlation with someone who has more money, which has more correlation with someone who has stolen more, that's when we have lost the state. Yeah. For me, if we can go to Bomas and say, how can you reform our country to see corruption as an enemy? There's no single antibody in Kenya for corruption. When corruption money comes to your body, it gets absorbed as if it's just some of your blood vessels. There's no antibody against it. People just make noise, we don't like corruption, but everybody else accepts corruption money. For me, I've gone to court, Simba, 16 cases in court. Some of them are against the state. I've been called to eat on the table. I say, I don't want. I've been called for 40 million, 30 million. I've refused to take. Because my case must be prosecuted in the interest of public, because I want public interest litigation. And I'm telling people that if we do not discuss that big elephant, or if that elephant is not in the room, there's nothing in the room. You can have a leader of opposition. You can have prime secretary. You can have all those things you're asking for. You can even talk about political parties thing. It is all that corruption can corrupt. Money corrupts. And they said, power also interferes with independent institutions. For example, if executive does not respect judiciary, does not respect legislature, where last time we saw the executive threatening legislature to pass a finance act, which was draconian. If we don't respect institutions, we are going nowhere. Like in the US, Simba, you can never see anyone talking to judges, that you're having coffee with the judge. In Kenya, you can have coffee with them, you can sleep with them, you can take them for a trip. In US, Britain, you cannot even want to talk to a judge. Over what discussion are they discussing? If he's going to make a decision about you, judges should be judges, you as litigants should be litigants, the accused should be accused. Why you meet to talk to judges? In Kenya, it is, you can see, for example, Chief Justice in a public thing, almost to the point of hugging the president. I mean, if it's about you are going to attend presidential function, there's a way you get received, isn't it? Well, how can a Chief Justice line up during a public holiday to receive the president? You know, the president is the head of the executive, isn't it? Yeah. Chief Justice is the head of the judiciary. Speaker is the head of legislature. But how comes when the president arrives in a function, the speaker is aligning to receive him, Chief Justice is aligning to receive him, and you can even see Moses Wetangula was an MC in a presidential function in Western Kenya. I'm just wondering, what is the mannerism we have in leadership?